Okay, so we're here answering questions about Saw 3D from Linkin Park fans, Saw fans, whatever. I'm Chester, and I'm in the movie and in the band, in case you didn't know. So anyways, this first question is from AV. The question is, obviously you've been in other movies like Crank and Crank 2, which were action films. What made you decide to do a horror film this time? Was it the difference? What was the differences between being in a film like Crank and this one? Well, what's interesting is I didn't actually choose to. I didn't go out of my way to try to be in the film. It was actually offered to me because the producer of the film, Mark Berg, who's become a good friend of mine, lives next door to one of the guys in Linkin Park, and they were talking one day, and Mark had mentioned that he produced the Saw films, and my bandmate had then told him that I'm a huge fan of the Saw films, which is true. I absolutely am a huge fan of the Saw films. And so Mark then asked if I would be interested in being in a film, in one of the Saw films, and I jumped on the opportunity to do that because I am such a big fan of the movies. The biggest difference between being in the Crank films and being in this Saw 3D is that my roles in the Crank films were more cameo. There really wasn't much of a script. My character, there wasn't much acting that needed to be done. I just kind of stood around and said one line, and my scene was over. They were very quick. Filming took maybe an hour or two to get the different camera shots. That was about it. The scene in Saw 3D is a very involved scene. It's there's a lot of back and forth dialogue, so there was actual acting required to do this scene, and so there was much more pressure to make sure that I actually captured that correctly on this film. The next one is from Alana, and I hope I said your name correctly. Chester, I was wondering about you getting into character and what was the best part about your scene. By the way, I'm so excited that my favorite artist and favorite movie have come together. Can't wait. Well, unfortunately, I can't tell you too much about what is going on in the scene because I don't want to give it away. But I can tell you that what is really exciting about this scene is that it's a trap set for a lot of different people. There's many characters in this trap, and we're all tied together. So, not literally, but we're all connected in some way. That's one thing that it was very unique about this particular scene. It's the most elaborate trap set in any of the Saw films. And getting into the character of it was not very difficult, but it took. I did consult with an acting coach to kind of help me get into the frame of mind I needed to get into to do it. This next one's from Devin. What has inspired you to write a lot of the lyrics you have done? Is it from past experience or current ones, or things that you see around you? The answer to that question is yes. It's all of those things. I mean, it is from my past experiences, my current experiences, what I've seen go on in the world around me. That's definitely the most. Those are the things that are always inspiring. I think lyricists to write the songs that they write about. This next one's from Kevin. Were you scared in that trap? I know it's fake, but it still had to mess with your mind. Can't wait to hear that scream we all know and love. There. For the sake of not giving too much away again about the setup, it was uncomfortable many times to be in the scene. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving parts, cameras, crew. So many things could have gone wrong, but I was so focused on really just trying not to fuck up that I wasn't paying too much attention to anything else going on. I wanted to do the part justice, and so I was really just very focused, as well as were all the other actors. From Brianna, hi Chester, I noticed that your original tattoos were replaced by different tattoos on your character in the Saw movie, and I was wondering why you had to do that, and and how you did that. Uh, well, I am not the character in the film, so to have me portrayed as myself is kind of defeats the purpose of playing a character. So I think that's the main motivation of covering up a lot of the tattoos. It's to give the illusion that I am the character. And then how do we go about doing it? Well, I spent about I'd say on average about 7 hours per day of filming, getting into makeup, which included basically painting over all of my tattoos, and then making it look like real skin, and then also putting on the prosthetics that I needed to wear for the scene. So it was pretty cool, but it was a very lengthy, kind of like awesome experience, just kind of hanging out, listening to like death metal, and seeing like body parts and blood all over the place as I'm getting my makeup on. It was pretty cool. Next one's from Angelo. Chester, were you approached about being in this movie, or did you want a part in this movie? I answered in one of the earlier questions, kind of how this came about. I was asked if I would like to be in the movie because the producer Mark Berg heard that I was a huge fan, that I am a huge fan of the Saw films. So when he heard that and asked me if I wanted to be in it, I jumped on the opportunity to be a part of this film franchise, which I personally love. This next one's from Sean Larson. Chester, what inspired or helped you in preparation for this role? Were you chosen for the role, or did you get to pick it? I'm pretty stoked to see what this film looks like. I think it looks cool and one of the best ones yet. Thanks, bro. Well, I definitely I do a lot of research and stuff. I don't know if I would call it research, but I watch a lot of shows based on gang violence and things of that nature. I like to learn about real people doing real crazy shit, and that helped me kind of get into the frame of mind, because my character is basically kind of part of a gang, and so that was pretty cool. But really, I mean, I just tried to imagine what my character would really be like in real life, and what kinds of things would be going through his mind as he's trying to survive this trap. But once I started realizing that I was overthinking it, and I just needed to be natural and react in the most realistic way, it made things a lot easier for me. Getting prepared for this role. From Marissa, Chester, you're the best. I love 1,000 Suns. What movie did you enjoy doing more, Crank or Saw, and why? And what are you going to be for Halloween? I would say that I enjoyed them in much different ways. I mean, Crank was a very kind of spontaneous thing that was like, hey, does Chester want to be in the movie? Sure. The next day I showed up. I said my line and I left. It was a lot of fun, but I didn't really have to be very prepared or very involved. Whereas in the Saw film, I knew what the movies were about. I'm a huge fan of all of the films. And I know the story, I know what's going on in these traps, so I kind of had an edge on what I thought I needed to do. And so I would say that the experience of making Saw felt more like I was really being a part of the film, rather than just a thing that happened in the film that really had no significant impact on the story, So that's the biggest difference. And I'm going to be on tour on Halloween, so I don't think I'm going to be doing anything for Halloween. I don't know. I don't know. Probably nothing. I'm going to go as the guy from Linkin Park. This next one's from Stephanie. I love Dead by Sunrise. Will you guys be making a new album, and if so, when? And what made you want to start acting? Thank you for loving Dead by Sunrise. That was a record that I put a lot of time and energy into, and I'm glad that you enjoy it. So I think there definitely will be another Dead by Sunrise record. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I can't see why I wouldn't want to do another one. But what got me into acting was I started doing a lot of acting when I was younger, before I got into bands. So I'd always kind of thought that that was something that I wanted to do. I've been in a lot of plays, a lot of musicals, toured around the country, performing for people. It kind of just was a perfect segue into music, and I have always thought it would be cool to do something like get into film, or even not film, or just get onto on stage somewhere. But being in Linkin Park definitely has opened up a lot of doors for me. So thank you. From Angie, what was it like to be a part of the last Saw, the best horror movies ever? Are you a fan of the other films? It's really cool for me as a fan of all the Saw movies to be a part of it, because I truly feel like the original, the first Saw film is one of the greatest films of all time, let alone the single best horror film ever made. I got hooked into these movies right away, and I've seen every single film. I love them all. I think they're great. And so it was really exciting as a fan of the films to be a part of the movies. One of the coolest parts about being able to shoot the film was I got to take a picture with a jigsaw puppet, the little guy that rolls out of the tricycle, like, I've got bad news. I fucking love that little guy. So that was really cool. Love this next one's from Carl, and the question is, will any of your music be heard in the film? Yes, actually, a track called Condemned by my other band, Dead by Sunrise, will be in the film. I think it fits the vibe of the movie very, very well. Next one's from Kelly. If you were on death row, what would your last meal be? A lifesaver. Are you a horror fan? And what are your favorite horror films, and why? I'm a very picky horror fan. I would say that out of all of the films that have gone on to become these, multiple film sagas, that Saw is by far the best one, in my opinion. But when I was a kid, I loved the Chucky movies because they were just like so silly and ridiculous. But Nightmare on Elm Street, loved all of those. Halloween, I've probably seen maybe 6. The other 7, who cares? You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I would say that I more enjoy the suspenseful kind of horror film, like Psycho or like the first Saw film, for example, that really kind of take you off guard and are very original and creative, more than the really super gory ones. But I've learned to appreciate the gore. And that's it.